Morgan, you're the kind of person, I think, that would fall into the River Clyde, as my dad used to say, come out not only bone dry, but with 2 salmon in your pockets. You are the lucky bouncy
First of all,
back.
it's lovely to see you.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to be back and to see all the old faces, most of whom were clapping when I left. Nice to see you all again. No, it's great, actually.
So, look, the first guest, as we now know, Donald Trump, is going to be the first one. But already we have conflicting accounts because you're saying that he stormed off, weirdly enough, and he's saying, no, I did not.
Well, we had a very heated debate.
You did.
About his repeated claim that he didn't lose the last election.
Right.
He says it was a rigged election, and he now says I have a rigged promo. All I would say is watch the interview. It'll all be there. We won't be doing any duplicitous editing. The president, I'm afraid, got very heated with me because he thinks that he should have won the last election. He's taken it very badly that he didn't, and he's concocted a story with no evidence so far that it was all fraudulent, that the voting system was fraudulent, and that he somehow had it stolen. I said to him, I don't believe that. I think you lost. And he didn't like that. So we had a very animated and heated discussion about it, which I think people will find fascinating.
Well, he says this morning, he says about you, Piers Morgan, like the rest of the fake news media,
I've always wanted them to call me that, actually.
attempted to unlawfully and deceitfully edit his long and tedious interview with me. He wants to make it look like I walked out on the interview and my time limit of 20 minutes went over by an hour.
Yeah.
He's calling you deceitful and
he
said
says
that
we've illegally edited an interview that hasn't aired. It's like, how do you know? We haven't aired it yet. No, it's ridiculous. I mean, he says in the same interview that it's long and tedious. I don't think he's tedious, just for the record. But he also says it's very strong. So he seems to be a bit confused about how he thinks the interview went. Here's what I think. I was supposed to have 20 minutes with him.
Right.
We had a very heated argument before we even got on air.
It wasn't looking like the interview was even going to go ahead.
Right, because somebody close to Nigel Farage, who works for a competitor, sent Mr. Trump a 3-page dossier of all the criticism I've made of him during the pandemic and after the election.
Because about half of your columns are pro and half are anti or criticising.
You and I have discussed this before. I always try and be fair about Trump. And I think, you know, I've tried to be more balanced probably than most journalists about it. People are either totally in the tank for him or totally in the tank against him. I've always tried to be somewhere in the middle. And this interview actually is a very good example because we got 70-odd minutes in the end, more compared to the 20 I was supposed to get. It's a riveting interview. It's fascinating. It's revealing. A lot of it is fun. We have some laughs about certain things. I agree with him about a number of things. And the bone of contention, which is what the promo's about, is simply when I get to this part of the interview, which I think is at the key of what is going on with Donald Trump. Because right now, he is the favourite to win the Republican nomination to run again. And with the performance of Joe Biden being so disastrous at the moment, you could see a situation where Trump might get re-elected. And the question is, there's a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. Is Donald Trump the right guy? If he refuses still to accept he lost the last free democratic election, should he be entitled to run again? That's what this is all about. And he's surrounded by a lot of people who keep telling him, you're right, Mr. President.
Of course.
It was stolen. I looked him straight in the eye, as you see in the promo, and said, I don't think you did.
And I don't think anybody's done that yet.
No, and
that's
he doesn't
really,
like it.
really interesting. The only thing is, though, there are repercussions because already this morning, just a couple of hours ago, Caitlyn Jenner, who was supposed to be on your show, has pulled out.
Well,
is it going to be like?
Going to come on because Trump talks about this whole issue that Boris Johnson addressed a couple of weeks
Boris
ago.
Johnson hid in a fridge. He won't come on either.
He will probably not be coming.
No, I don't think he will be.
He's still refrigerating. But Caitlyn Jenner's interesting because Caitlyn Jenner, I've interviewed her for Life Stories. I think she's a compelling character. She was going to come on later in the week to talk about a part of the interview where Trump supports Boris Johnson's view, which is my view, which is that trans athletes should not be competing against women born to female biological bodies. And it's a raging debate, as we know, and people have strong views about it. But that's my view. It's Boris's view. Thought he was right to say what he did, and Trump concurs with that. But I thought we'd book Caitlyn Jenner, who also shares that view, and is, of course, a supreme example of someone who was a gold medal decathlon winner in the Olympics as a man, and has transitioned and is now very honest about the unfairness of trans athletes competing against women. But I did have a great time here. I don't want to create a wrong impression. I had a lovely time at ITV. I worked here many years doing Life Stories and other shows, and particularly Good Morning Britain. Loved working with Susanna. you know, it was a weird thing. We had this kind of arranged marriage where you get put with someone you don't really know, and we sort of fired off each other. Then we really understood each other. And just at the moment the marriage was really flourishing, we have to suddenly get divorced.
Yeah, but it was your fault, though, because you walked out.
No, it wasn't my fault.
If you hadn't walked out, then it wouldn't have happened.
I didn't walk out.
You did?
No.
We saw there's video evidence.
Play the video of me storming back in. I went back in that day.
That doesn't count.
Well, I had a little timeout because I wasn't too sure how I would respond if I stayed sitting there listening to that idiot giving me his 2 pennies worth. So I did walk back in, and I did finish that show. And then I was presented with a fait accompli, and I chose not to apologise and to leave. But I did have a great time. I did love Good Morning Britain. I loved trebling the ratings. I loved all the noise and fun we had. And I'm looking forward to having the same success on my new show.
Well, we will see Piers Morgan Uncensored on Monday at 8 o'clock and Talk TV.
You'll be watching, won't you?
You can toddle off now. You don't need to.
I'm storming off!
He's storming off! Again! He can't help himself! He can't help himself.